Your sophomore year, life's pretty good. You're playing baseball. Are you dating anyone at the time?
Yes, my wife is out there. We met here at SC as freshmen.
Let's show a picture of the happy couple, the happy trio.
That's a good look there.
I just look like an idiot, you know? Yeah.
It has worked for you time and time again. So life's good. You and Stacy are dating. You're playing baseball, and things turn. Can you share with us how they turned?
Yeah, I remember I was sitting in my apartment over off of Hoover and Adams in Troyland Apartments, and got a phone call from my mother. I used to have to go back every 6 months for blood tests, and I could just tell when I picked up the phone by the tone of her voice that the cancer was back. I didn't really ask anything about it. I think I just said literally, "Is it back?" And she said yes. I said I didn't want to talk about it. I remember hanging up because it was right about 12:30, 12:45 in the afternoon because we had to be at practice by 1, and I just got on my bike and went to practice.
And this time, what was the diagnosis and treatment regimen?
Yeah, and so I went back to the doctor and had to get, went to Stanford because they had seen more lymphoma patients than any other hospital. And they basically told me that my cancer had spread and that they were going to prescribe basically 2 years of chemotherapy for me with a new therapy that was had a lot harsher side effects than I had gone through before. But since it had spread, they had to kind of go full force after it.
So you went to the City of Hope?
Yeah, well, from there, you know, I went through about 3 or 4 months of chemotherapy, and I was kind of ready to fight it. I'd taken out a piece of paper and put it on behind my bed, and I wrote the numbers 1 through 24, representing the number of chemo treatments I was going to have, and I wrote "kick its ass" below it. And after about 4 treatments, my white blood cell count got so low that they could no longer treat me. So we went back to Stanford. Make a long story short, they told me my best chance for survival was a bone marrow transplant, and that there was 2 or 3 hospitals that performed them at the time. And so I went around with my parents to the hospitals, and this crowd will love this. We went to UCLA first and didn't like it at all, treated me like a number, and went to City of Hope in Duarte and kind of knew that that was the right place. And so I ended up having my bone marrow transplant there in June of 1988.
And you did share with me that this was, you know, for someone with such an indomitable spirit, this was a low point for you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine yourself, you're in college, you're at the height of, you think your life, and you're got everything going for you. I'm on the baseball team, I'm in a fraternity, I'm dating this great gal, and it all got taken away from me in a matter of, 30 days. And I really, for the first time in my life, I was really afraid that I was going to die.
And you met a doctor, Stephen Foreman, and can you just share the story with them about, how he may have not just helped you recover, but just also psychologically the turning point?
I mean, the part of it, you're back then, and it's still to this case today, the bone marrow transplants, they give you a lethal dose of chemotherapy, and you're sitting in basically an incubation room, if you can imagine. You're like a boy in the bubble, and you're just waiting for your white blood cells to come back, and so you can't see a lot of people. And I was really down at the time because I wanted to be back where you guys are in school and going to class and hanging out with your friends. And 1988 was a great year for the Dodgers. I'm a diehard Dodger fan, and my doctor was too, or is. And he came into my room. I remember it was like 11 o'clock at night in the hospital, and he was way past his rounds and working, and he came in and sat on my bed. We watched 2 innings of a Dodger game. He just sat there and he put his hand on my leg and says, "I'm going to get you back out on that field," and just walked out of the room. Yeah, and we're still very good friends today.
Meanwhile, to contrast what I was going through at that same moment, I couldn't get the right book for my class, and I was so pissed. But I had learned to light my farts on fire, so I was going through crazy stuff.
It was
too.
tough.
Yeah.
You made it.
Everyone has their struggles. They're pretty much parallel.
Yeah.
So I actually spoke with Dr. Foreman and invited him. And true to form, he was working late and with patients, but he did share a couple stories and just said how inspiring you were to him as a patient. For anyone who's seen a bone marrow transplant, it is as grueling a procedure as you can possibly endure. And I bring it up to say, How long after you had a bone marrow transplant were you back at USC?
I think it was like 60 days. Mom, Dad, you're out there. How many days was it? 60 days.
So in 2 months from a bone marrow transplant, you're back at school, and in what condition are you?
You know, Dr. Foreman did not want me to go back to school, but I was kind of felt like I had missed enough, and so I went back to school, and I was bald and was having to wear a mask the first couple months back into school.
And you sort of took one last shot at baseball, and when did you decide that maybe baseball wasn't for you?
Well, I think it was really when I was in the hospital, and I realized I kind of had actually made a promise to God when I was in the hospital. I said if I got out of here alive, I was going to make a difference in the world, and I really wasn't sure what that was going to be. I originally thought I wanted to be a doctor, and then I took my first organic chemistry class, and after about 2 weeks, I was like, I got to get out of here. Yeah, doctor was not for me. And so then, you know, it's when I came back to SC and decided to get into the business school and realized that, you know, baseball wasn't the passion anymore.
And you came through the entrepreneur
I
program.
did, yes.
Nicely done.
Yes.
We're going to talk about your business plan as a senior and what you built from that in a little bit more. Will, let's turn to you.
But meanwhile, just so you know, all of us who are friends have no idea. Craig kind of keeps this all to himself. So you generally knew, hey,
Right.
that's Craig Pollard. Oh, he had cancer, but that was it. And so no one, I didn't find out till way after we'd gotten out of school,
Right.
just how delicate a balance the whole thing was. Yeah.
That's just, it's unbelievable what you've gone through.